Okay, so about a year ago, I bought this Hercules 8-inch variable speed bench grinder with the work light. And like most Harbor Freight products, you never know what you're getting yourself into when you go into it. And a lot of times the reviews that you read on stuff like this can be a little bit sketchy. And then just because somebody talks about a review or something for something they've had for 2 or 3 months doesn't really give you a super good idea of what your product's going to be like a year after using it. Anyways, I'm going to go out to the shop and show you guys some of the features on this. The little safety guard deals here, the little variable speed thing, the little mounts, replacing the wheels and all that. And then I'll also talk about the stone wheels that it comes with and some of that stuff. Yeah, let's go out to the shop and take a look at this. All right, so here's my setup right here. To be completely honest, I have not been thrilled with this at all. I would have to say that basically this thing is a piece of junk, which I know. It's like if you're buying stuff at Harbor Freight, it's because you're like me and you can't just spend $500 on something like this at certain times. Anyway, so I guess some of the things I wanted to talk about is I guess I'll start from the top to the bottom. The little plastic guards that go right here are absolutely junk. They are super weak, chintzy plastic, and so if anything really hits them, it melts it, and it also chips and breaks it. The little tighten down screws vibrate loose, and so they vibrate down into the wheel and everything. So those, honestly, I'm probably just gonna pull those out and throw it away because I already ripped the plastic shields off. And then below that, we've got the wheels. The wheels that come with this are absolute crap. The first time I used them, whatever I would put on it would just throw sand in my face because of how fast the wheel was falling apart. And so it doesn't take very long for there to be like really big grooves in the wheel, which makes it really inconvenient for working with. And so for changing the wheels out, this is a pain in the these little screw things here, they don't line up that good, and every time you pull the screws in and out, it feels like they're cross-threading even though they're not, and you can just totally tell that the threads are getting up because they don't because this shield doesn't totally line up perfectly every time. Whereas the ones I've used before that are like it's like a $400 or $500 Delta, all of this stuff is just so much nicer and everything just goes in and out super smooth and clean with no hassle. So one of the first things that I did when I bought this, after I realized that the wheels that were on this were junk, was I replaced this wheel with not even a good brand. This is a Cobalt, so that's basically almost as junky as the Harbor Freight one. But the Cobalt, as you can see, has held up way, way, way better. I wish I'd kept the Harbor Freight one, but it's already in the trash. But it just fell apart like immediately. The motor itself is honestly pretty weak. I especially notice it when I'm using the wire wheel. If I'm really trying to take some rust off of something, it slows it down extremely fast, and you kind of have to pulse it. You got to go in, out, just to keep it up to speed, or else it'll just stop it. One of the other issues that I had with the wheels that this came with is even from the very first startup on it, the wheels were out of balance. And so using a bench grinder with a little bit more vibration than you like is definitely less than convenient, and it's quite frustrating. Replacing the wheels, obviously just like any other bench grinder, one side you have reverse threads, the other side you have standard threads. Pretty easy. The adjustable tool rests here, they're pretty comparing this to the Delta that I use at work that's like a $500 bench grinder compared to like 120 bucks. But now that I look back, I wish I would have saved for a little longer and gone out of my way to buy something a little bit better. So the first 30 days of having this. So when you buy something at Harbor Freight, for 30 days you have a return policy that you can return it if something goes wrong. When I bought this bench grinder, I was getting ready to start a project and I didn't really get much use out of it until right about the end of the 30 days. So once I started using it, I was using it a lot for about a week. And by the end of the week, the variable speed stopped working. But what I did is I took this bench grinder off, put it on the table, and there was like a circuit board and all these wires running from underneath going to the variable speed. So I just took all that shit out. I just bashed the circuit board with a hammer, ripped everything out of it, ripped all of the wiring out of it, and then hooked the positive and negative lead from the motor directly to the switch and the plug-in. And now it works perfectly fine, but the variable speed doesn't work. And like I said, it broke literally right after the 30-day warranty that Harbor Freight gives with their tools. For anything electronic at Harbor Freight, they will not give you the warranty like they do on some of their hand tools. And so these were the plastic guards that came with it, and they are extremely flimsy. And you might not be able to tell, but a lot of this is stuff from grinding. Like, it's burnt into there, so there's no keeping it clean. Which having something like that is kind of handy, but if it's not going to be made out of a material that works for something like this, then better to just throw it in there. Like, look at the size of these screws. They're itty bitty. Having something that's a little bit more substantial would make it a whole lot easier to get these in there. Die spider. And every time you screw one in, it feels like you're putting a metric bolt in a standard hole. Like the threads just don't completely mate properly. It goes in and it holds it, but I'm sure after 30 times of doing this, it's gonna be completely worn out and I'm not gonna be able to put these back on anymore. Okay, so all in all, I would give this like a 2 out of 5 stars. I would give it a 1 star, but to be honest, like, even though I've had so many problems with it, it does technically still work, and I'm not going to throw it away. I'm just going to keep it until it does actually break, but I definitely wouldn't give it any more than a 2 star. During the video, I don't know why I kept referring to a Delta bench grinder as the one I use at work, because the one I use at work is not a Delta at all. I don't know why I was even saying that. The one that I use at work is similar to this one here that's a Jet. If I was to go again, I would probably get this one right here. Super simple, just an on-off switch. So look at that photo right there. Look at just like how much more heavy duty everything is. Like up there, the tool rests on it are super thick. I don't even think those are aluminum. Those are cast steel. The guard on the outside, cast steel also, not just some thin, flimsy sheet metal. The switch is just a simple on-off switch, and those switches are super simple and easy to replace for like $2 if anything ever goes wrong with them. You can see that the deflection shields on something like that, a lot thicker, a lot better quality. The one that I use at work has been used a lot, and there isn't a lot of buildup or scratches, or it's not totally tore up, so you can still actually see through it when you're working and stuff. So I was able to find a parts diagram for this, and looking at the parts diagram, I can tell you that if I wanted to get this one working again, I would get this number here. I would get this right here, which is a number 4 on the parts diagram, which is the circuit board, and I believe it's number 24 right here, which is the potentiometer. I think that's how to pronounce it. But with a brand like this, it's not super easy to get parts for. And honestly, I couldn't even find replacement parts for something like this. Whereas if you get something like a Jet and you have something like a circuit board go out or a potentiometer, you can just get on like e-replacement parts or something like that and just order the parts. And within a week or two, the parts will be there, and you just watch a YouTube video or something of how to replace it. And a lot of times the replacement part websites have instructions of how to replace the parts for super simple. All in all, gotta say, probably not the best idea to get a bench grinder at Harbor Freight if you're actually planning on using it for an extended amount of time. Just save your money, stop smoking cigarettes, stop buying energy drinks, stop buying scratch off tickets, and just save your money until you've got $400 that you can just go buy a nice Jet professional grade bench grinder that'll last you 40 years. And then when you're done with it and you die, your son can use it in his shop or whatever. Alrighty, I am out.